Welcome to this week of First and 10. I am joined, of course, as always, by the Donatello to my Raphael. We're missing two other Ninja Turtles, but may as well. I mean, I had to throw kind of a Halloween reference in there since it is technically today, as of the recording of this show, Halloween. So happy Halloween to all you ghouls and ghosts and whatever you may be. Since it is Halloween, I mean, we're getting close to the end of the season, so it's been kind of a scary season for some teams, and it's been definitely lots of treats filled with not many tricks in it for some teams, though. I mean, I guess before we get into the show, I mean, how about your boys in the New York Giants? I don't know if you can be confident with the victory that you guys had. I mean, you were totally outplaying Dallas for an entire half. Fell apart in the middle, but I guess when it came down to the championships and what championships do, and you wrote it out like most New Yorkers did, Hurricane Sandy, and you got the job done against Dallas. So what's your overall take on your boys' performance?
Well, I mean, thanks, Tony, for those 17 points right off the bat. Well, they weren't all Tony's. One of them was a fumble, too. But, I kind of saw that coming going into the second half. I felt like Giants should have been up by a bit more. Then, of course, Dallas comes back and gets 24 unanswered points, I believe. But, as I told you before the show, I will take the Giants in a 1-point game going into the fourth quarter any day. That team is clutch in the fourth quarter. They did it. And we won by a fingertip.
You definitely won by it basically did literally win by a fingertip. If Des Bryant, didn't, have both hands on the ball, hey, you've lost the game. And first loss for the Giants at home. Tony Romo, I mean, I don't even know how you really judge that performance because he played awful in the first half, got it going like, what a good quarterback should do in the second, and wasn't playing too bad on the game-winning drive. I mean, he technically almost threw a game-winning touchdown, as we just talked about, but to throw, 9 interceptions in your last 2 home games, that's a stat that's not good for y'all out there in Cowboy Nation. So, you really, really need to check yourself. And I don't know, I was dogging Tony all over the first half on Twitter about it's time to get rid of him, time to put Kyle Orton in, or just draft a new quarterback come the next season. But I don't even know if you can, because they did show resilience and fighting spirit. Now, we'll give credit where credit is due. Dallas showed up when it counted there after they were getting their ass handed to them at home, especially adding insult to injury after your owner says, come by to Cowboy Stadium after we beat the Giants. So that's definitely not good. But, big victory for your team. I think you guys have a bye in a couple weeks or so, I believe.
Couple weeks, yeah.
So the interesting thing now, I guess, before we get into the picks of the week, is we're approaching the trade deadline, and
it was actually supposed to be Tuesday.
It was supposed to be Tuesday, but
Sandy.
The Hurricane Sandy. I mean, she's just messing with everything right there, and you can't mess with women when they're scoring, and that's exactly. No offense, ladies, but we know what's up here on First and 10. So she's pushed back a lot of things. I mean, the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets were supposed to get their NBA seasons tipped off on Tuesday, but they had to push that back till Thursday. And of course, like we said, the trade deadline is a little pushed back here. There's been one minor trade that went down between Jacksonville and Detroit, nothing we really need to get into, but there's a lot of speculation on certain guys getting traded here. For sure, 2 that really get me interested. The first one, I think, is the biggest one, is still with Jacksonville. The Jaguars are really interested in grabbing second-string New York Jet quarterback,
oh my God,
Tim Tebow.
No way!
Who the Jags, of course, in the offseason did show interest in getting. And to me, I think it's the perfect move for Jacksonville to get him because... One, I mean, Tim Tebow is a Florida boy. I mean, was one of the best.
From the swamp.
From the swamp, yes, one of the best with the Florida Gators. Yeah. As well, the Jags, they're a struggling team in the NFL market-wise. I mean, not many people come out to the games. There's not much star power.
That's true.
I mean, they got MGD, who they almost didn't even have, but he's right now hurt. And maybe Justin Blackmon, who they drafted from Texas Tech. But other than that, not an exciting team to really go see, even though I think they're playing good football, even though they are 1-6, but I think they're playing good football. So I think he's the perfect guy there. He's not getting enough reps. It looks like they're going to go with Sanchez, or they even have a way better quarterback at third string, the former Alabama starter.
McElroy.
Yeah, McElroy right there. So, what are your thoughts on should Jacksonville get Tim Tebow?
This gets me fired up. I agree. I think one of the best fits for Tim Tebow would be in Jacksonville. I think it's a spot where he could contend for the number one starting position against Blaine Gabbert. And I mean, although I still don't think he's that great in passing the ball, I just think it would be exciting to watch him, and he could develop there. But it just in my mind, I envision a Tim Tebow, Maurice Jones-Drew option style offense just running all over the place. I just think that'd be fun to watch. And my only question is, what would they get for Tebow? The only thing I can really think of would be a draft pick, because you know a Jacksonville draft pick is going to be good. It's going to be lower down. They're not going to finish very well this season. So I think that would be the best thing that they can do, and that does happen a lot. In NFL, they do trade a lot of draft picks. But I can't really think of any player or players that really New York would want, other than Maurice Jones-Drew from Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only one, but obviously I don't think Jacksonville can afford to give him up.
No, they wouldn't.
He's also a big part of their offense.
Yeah.
I think it would be more than just one draft pick. I think it'd be a couple draft picks for a couple seasons. Mm-hmm. I mean,
a quarterback.
It may seem like a little bit of highway robbery for, Tim Tebow, who's not a great passer, but I think Jacksonville definitely needs him for the marketability. They got new ownership last year. Tim Tebow coming there, you're going to sell a lot of tickets, a lot of merchandise. So I think it's a huge move for the Jags to get him. If they get him. I mean, the Jets are saying they really don't want to trade him, and I think it's kind of foolish because you're barely even using Tebow at all in your offense. So
why get rid of all that negative media attention?
Exactly, right there.
I think it would work out great for both sides, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. Yeah. I'd love it if it did.
I don't think I don't know if it'll happen either, but I mean, hopefully Jacksonville just keeps chipping away. I mean, they can offer you some stuff for your future, which every team needs, and Jacksonville gets a quick fix for a situation that they really need to be fixed. Now, the other guy that is being interestedly talked about is Carolina Panther running back DeAngelo Williams, who he's having maybe not the greatest of seasons out there that he's had in the past, but I think he's gonna would be a big pickup for a team like the Packers or the Steelers, who they've kind of improved their run games, but with the Packers at least they lost Benson for we don't know how long, and Mendenhall hasn't run the ball that well with the Steelers, so DeAngelo Williams is a big pickup for those teams. And I think it's not a loss for Carolina. They also have Jonathan Stewart and Cam. I mean, Cam's a basically running back that throws the ball as well. Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think about that trade there for, really those two teams if they could get Williams? Or do you see another team being able to get DeAngelo Williams?
I think that's tremendous. And those two teams, the Steelers or Green Bay, would be a great place for Carolina to look into because of their depth at wide receiver. Carolina needs some wide receivers. If they could do like a man-to-man or like trade their running back and get a wide receiver back, someone to opposite Steve Smith, I think that would help out.
And LaFay.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think that would help out Cam Newton a lot, especially in the passing game. I think it'd be a great move. But my thing in terms of getting a running back, I really do believe that a lot of the running game is also about the O-line. So I don't think it's necessarily a quick fix, especially for the Steelers. If they just grabbed a running back, you still got those issues with the blocking up front. So I don't know if it's necessarily the greatest deal for Steelers or for Green Bay to do so, but it's definitely interesting. Like I said, if they can do running back for a wide receiver, work out great for both sides.
I think it works out better for Green Bay to make that trade. I mean, I think because Green Bay, like if they're gonna do it for a player, I mean, Green Bay's offense has so many that I think Aaron Rodgers can work with anyone at wide receiver. If they lose one, which would suck. Whether it be a Jones or a Jordy Nelson or someone like that, it would suck definitely. But I think it helps improve Carolina, who definitely needs that. And they're young receivers. They're going to be there in the NFL for at least another 5 to 10 years. So I think that helps Carolina out because Carolina is a young, exciting team, and you can just tell that they're ready to peak in the coming seasons. And I think Williams would be able to run the ball better still in the NFC than if he goes to Pittsburgh when facing some, Raven-style defense and even a tough Bengal defense out there. So I think that's the best style of trade. But, that's all speculation. A lot of people are saying that trade may not happen. Same with the Tebow trade. But, hopefully it does because, the NFL trade deadline is never really that exciting. But I think the way that they moved it back a couple weeks and now moving it back a couple days makes it even more of an exciting moment here as we're approaching to the Thursday Nighter. And the Thursday Nighter this week, speaking of it, is not that interesting.
A little less exciting.
It's a little less exciting. As last week I was really pumped for the Buccaneers and the Vikings. If people say it didn't deliver it, but I'll leave that to be their opinion. But this week I think it's an interesting matchup, more so for one team in the game because the Kansas City Chiefs, let's face it, they may be the worst team in the NFL, and a lot of people had high hopes for them, but they just definitely haven't delivered. I think what they learned is they probably should have kept Kyle Orton at quarterback after they picked him up last year in the trade deadline, nonetheless. So there's that for Kansas City, and they'll get Castle back, which I think is a good thing. But the team, of course, we're all going to be interested in is their opponents that Kansas City will be taking is the San Diego Chargers. Chargers, a very struggling team. They blow it against the Broncos with throwing, having 4 turnovers in the last 4 drives with them against Denver. They get a bye. You think they're going to come back and get motivated, especially when they play Cleveland. And I even said here it was an easy victory for them, but that's why they play the games, folks. As the Browns went out there and got the job done, and at least scored a touchdown, unlike the San Diego Chargers. And they just look terrible against Cleveland. I don't know whether it was the weather or the cold environment or what have you, but San Diego just did not show up, and San Diego's gonna have to show up tomorrow night at Qualcomm because I think not only the future of the team at Rivers, but North Turner's job is really on the line here. Do you think with all that pressure, can the Chargers get the job done against a team that always plays them close in Kansas City, or will San Diego finally show up and just run a rough shot?
Their offense needs to get it going. They have so many weapons there. I know they lost Vincent Jackson, but then they came out and got Meacham from the Saints. He dropped a touchdown pass last week. How can't this team score a touchdown? That is
especially
incredible.
Against Cleveland.
Antonio Gates, Ryan Matthews, and Phillip Rivers. Come on, you gotta get it going. I don't have too many issues with their defense, which is surprising. Their defense is usually the downfall of this team. But yeah, their offense has to get going. I think they do bounce back. I just think KC is just struggling way too much. So I gotta go with San Diego on it. But I mean, I could be wrong. They lost to the Browns last week, so we'll see.
I don't know. I mean, I think the Chargers can pull this out, but I mean, if the Chiefs win by, I could see the Chiefs winning here by a field goal because Chiefs do have an okay-ish defense, and I could see potentially while the Chargers have a strong D, you never know. I mean, the Jamal Charles could break one off here and have a big day.
I wouldn't say they have a strong D. They have a mediocre D, and you're right. They could break big runs against them. Or,
I could see that happening here, especially as well because they play each other so close, and just with how all the momentum is on the negative for San Diego right now. I think a lot of people are looking so much more down, and Kansas City, while they're being looked down upon, I mean, because no one, they're not playing good football, haven't been for a lot of weeks. That could be a good thing for them because no one's really giving them any credit or anything like that, and this is their one chance to shine in a big time game. So there's that, and so that really, if San Diego is to go down, this makes this division a hell of a lot more interesting with how much the Chargers have slumbered and how much the Raiders have really turned it on the past couple weeks. So there's that. But, while we're not too hyped about that game, the game we are kind of hyped about, though, features another 1-6 team. But this 1-6 team, I don't think, is that 1-6. And now we kind of talked about them a little earlier with trade speculation, but that's Carolina. They're heading up to Washington to play the Redskins. So it's a battle between the Rookie of the Year and the Heisman winner in Cam Newton, RG3. I mean, it's basically like they're playing themselves right here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm really excited about that element. I think the offenses are going to show up. Hopefully, it's just a shootout. I would like to see both teams not play defense. I think the NFL would like to see both teams not play defense.
And both teams may not play defense.
Well, exactly. The way the Redskins have been showing up the past couple weeks. Yeah. Panthers, I will say, look, they may be 1-6, but I think they're a little bit better than what they are. I mean, they had two close losses to Seattle, as well, to Dallas, and last week's loss to Chicago, the Bears, was heartbreaking, I think, because, you know, they finally get the lead and the Bears just drove down the field and kicked a field goal, which is just really crushing right there. But it seems like they may have found the rhythm, they found the right way to mix the offense for it to succeed. And maybe if they can pick up someone from the trade deadline, it really makes that offense even more so explosive. RG3's skins, they haven't shown up as much, especially last week. They didn't show up that much as well. But I'm gonna go with Washington here. I've been going with RG3 the past 3 weeks now. I really like Washington. This team just really excites me. They could potentially be a wild card team in your division. You guys saw 2 weeks ago how well they play. So I could see this team really being a wild card team, and it's nice to see Washington being good at games. So what are your take on this game?
Jay, I'm jacked up for this matchup. Jacked up. This, like I said, this is RG3 versus Cam Newton, arguably two of the most exciting players, not only in the NFL, but in all of sports. So much fun to watch, both of them. And this game, I think, truly comes down to those two players. Both these defenses aren't necessarily that great. And so these offenses are going to go wild. Cam Newton has got to figure out how to pass the ball down the field, get it down the field. Washington's pass defense, 30 seconds. So tossing it down the field there. If Carolina's O-line can protect him, he can find his receivers. Going to be great. But RG3 and their running game, I think, are going to run over the Panthers. That's what RG3's done. 6 rushing touchdowns on the season so far. And I just think the Redskins at home will be able to run the ball. They're not going to have the issue with, being away and having the crowd get off on their snap counts and those sorts of things. Going to be high scoring game, going to be fun, but RG3 and the Washington Redskins going to take down Carolina Panthers.
I can see that happen. I have a feeling, though, this game also goes to overtime, which I think makes it even more interesting for everyone out there in video land, TV land, what have you, right there. So that should be a real good game. And yeah, I mean, that's basically the way to sum that one up. But as well, we have 2 other rookie quarterbacks duking it out this coming Sunday, as it's the Andrew Luck Indianapolis Colts, who are coming off their very first road victory in quite some time, actually. Not just under the Andrew Luck era, which has only been a couple of games, but very first time in a while. Taking on, like we've been saying the past couple of weeks, the very surprising Miami Dolphins, who are coming up a big whooping of the New York Jets. So, I mean, this game could be really interesting. I mean, Tannehill, he's a little banged up, a little sore, but, I mean, he's been playing great football. I think, maybe Reggie can get going here. But I think Andrew Luck at home, I'm not going to ever doubt the man after that performance against Green Bay. Yeah. I mean, Luck and Reggie Wayne I can see connecting a lot here. I think it's just going to be exciting to show, how real good the depth in that draft was last year. With, both teams at a game above 500 at 4-3. I'm taking the Colts at home, but if the Fish get the job done in Indianapolis, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely a very interesting matchup this one is. Like I said, 2 rookie quarterbacks, once again, going against each other. But I don't think, unlike the game we just discussed, it's not going to be about those two rookie quarterbacks. It's going to be about Luck and Reggie Bush, those 2 guys that you mentioned, the 2 stars of the 2 offenses. Luck, he's been amazing stepping into this Indianapolis team. I mean, obviously not Peyton Manning, but very similar in style, and who knows, maybe with years to come, he could be the next best quarterback coming in. Bush has been playing very well this season. I think he's found himself a good home in Miami, and I think he's going to continue to run the ball with them. But like you said, Indianapolis at home, I mean, if Indy gets the ball last, I think they drive down the field for sure and score a game-winning touchdown or field goal. But Tannehill could get it done as well. He's shown that he can do the same thing, drive the ball down the field if they need him to, if they're down and behind. I agree. I think either team can win this game, and that's what makes it so interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun, but my pick's Indy.
Same with me. And I guess, moving to the end of Sunday, we got the best team in the league, the Atlanta Falcons, the 7-0 Atlanta Falcons, taking on the team you guys just saw last week, the Dallas Cowboys, the 3-4 Dallas Cowboys, who, like we've said at the top of the show, we were really not sure how to judge that performance. It was awful, then it was really good, then it was meh in the middle there, so I don't know how you overall judge that. Now with Atlanta, though, you got to go A's all across the board on their performance last week against Philadelphia. I mean, really a big beatdown at Philly, too, which is, something that you have to give them really impressive, because that's always a tough place to play, no matter how bad the elite Eagles are struggling, Matt? So, so this match, I don't know how do you see this one going? Will the Falcons be undefeated? Because, every time you think something's going to happen in the NFL, a card is swerved, basically, out here. And it's a Sunday nighter, and stranger things have happened on Sunday nights with Chris Collinsworth.
This is true. I, a couple weeks ago, said that Atlanta was going to go undefeated until they play the Saints next week. This matchup's got me worried, especially watching Dallas last week. Against my boys. If Dallas can play like they did in the second half, they're a scary team. However, I have got to go back to week 2 when Atlanta played the Denver Broncos and kind of tricked Peyton Manning into 3 interceptions in the first quarter. That defense is very elusive. They have a lot of different schemes, like to mix it up a lot, and I think it confuses a lot of quarterbacks. With Romo's history and throwing interceptions, I got to take the Atlanta defense and getting a lot of interceptions. They have 10 now on the season. I think they're going to get a couple more this game. I think that's going to be the difference. Atlanta's had a few close games. I think this one's also going to be close. But Atlanta has been able to pull through in all of those close games. And I think that's exactly what happens. And plus, they're at home. I can't see them having their first loss of the season at home in the Dome.
See, I'm going to lean with Atlanta, more so just because I really like the chemistry they've developed at offense, because they're not so much just a run team. They're a very strong pass team. Matt Ryan's really showing to be, definitely an early candidate for MVP of the NFL. Look at his leadership this year. He's just got the guys motivated. He's been able to deliver the ball in clutch situations. So, if you had to go with an MVP so far, I'd go probably Matt Ryan with Atlanta. But Dallas's D has really been, was really what kept him in that game, because Tony's 3 picks, that could have easily been 21, and then with the pick 6, that could have been 28, 30, nothing before you go into halftime. But Dallas's D kept him in there, so Dallas, while I've dogged Dallas a lot this year, I will not dog their defense. Their defense is really showing up. Not just, DeMarcus Ware and crew, but, the secondary thing's been playing pretty good in their own right out there. But I think, like you said, it's Atlanta at home. The Dome will be rocking. And I think definitely, they'll a lot of A-Town stomping, if you know what I mean, out there. I know you don't. But, but I think the Falcons can definitely take this one here. And move to 8-0, and it's nice to hear that, a lot of people are like, hey, you think you guys can go undefeated in Atlanta? And they just don't seem motivated for that, which is always the good thing for me. Always your goal is to win a division and then a championship. So there's that. But, speaking of the team that the Falcons played last week, the Eagles, a lot of questions got to be going in there. They're saying they're still going to keep Mike Vick at the helm, which I think is a good thing, because Vick can still do a lot more for you on offense with his legs. Now, his legs aren't as fast as they once were, but they're still speedy, quick, elusive style legs. Now, his turnovers still are an issue. But is it time for the Falcons or for the Eagles, I should say, to get rid of Michael Vick or Andy Reid?
I think it's time to get rid of Andy Reid.
Thank God someone said it. Yes.
He's been there for a long time.
Longest coach in the NFL.
Yeah, and he hasn't had a lot of success lately. I do always criticize teams for making rash decisions, firing coaches too early, getting rid of players too early. I always like the idea of working it out. Andy Reid's had lots of time to work it out. It's time for him to go. It's time for someone new, someone fresh, to be brought into that organization. Vic, he has been struggling a lot, but I say it all the time, and I know that, I think Eagles are elite. I don't really. I like a lot of their offensive players, their star players that they have. But they need their O-line really needs to step it up. I think that's a big issue with Vic as to why he's fumbling, why he's struggling passing the ball. So I don't know. You get rid of Vic, I don't know how many problems you really solve doing that. You get rid of Andy Reid. I still don't think Eagles are going to make the playoffs, but I think you work a lot better towards your future if you do that, and you solve a lot more problems.
Well, I'm for them getting rid of Andy Reid because I think it's time for a change, but I'm not for them getting rid of Andy Reid during the season because that's officially just throwing your hands in the air saying we're done with this year, it's a work in progress next year, and especially in Philadelphia, that's a place you don't want to do that. That's a place you got to gut it out and you got to go through your season. And, you know, the way the Eagles played at the end of last year, we could potentially see something like that. You know, they may be a little bit much more worse to start the season than they were last year, but I think they finished strong, and they're always a team that I think finishes strong. That's kind of what it's always about. Now, hopefully, if they finish strong, they don't keep Andy Reid, because I think it's time that the Eagle players and stuff hear a new voice. I mean, he's been there since, 1998, 1999. I was in 3rd grade, folks, okay? I was on the merry-go-round, basically. So, I think it's time we get they need a new voice. I mean, he's been a great coach for the team. 4 NFC championship games actually.
Yeah.
1 Super Bowl, didn't win it, but hey, I mean, he took you there. He had a good run. Let's get someone else in there. There's plenty of strong coaches out there in the CFL. And now that the UFL suspended this season, there's some coaches out there that you can pick up. Jim Fossil, I think, is a great coach out there that it was in the UFL that they can definitely get. I mean, he's won a championship in the UFL, and he did take the Giants in the year 2000 to a Super Bowl, so I think they could potentially get him. So I think it's time to get rid of Andy Reid. I think you keep Mike Vick. I think Mike Vick is good for, you know, the offense in the long run. I mean, he makes mistakes, but I think it's also what you said. The O-line, especially when you watch them in overtime against the Lions, my God, was their O-line atrocious. I mean, losing 31 yards is disgusting. You can't be doing that, especially in overtime when definitely game's on the line. So I think Mike Vick's the best for you guys to have right now. And then speaking of the Eagles, they go on Monday night to go to the Superdome to take on the Saints in a battle between teams we really thought were going to be better than this, but they're really not. I mean, this looks like an undercard fight at a B-League MMA show, basically, when you look at the two teams out here and their records. So I'll let you start with, you think your hero, Drew Brees, or the Elite Eagles, who wins?
Oh, God. I don't even want to make this pick, but it's a...
Well, you have to. It's part of the show.
It's a great matchup for Philadelphia, and I'll tell you why. Just because New Orleans does not have a pass rush. We've talked about how Philly's O-line has been struggling. Well, this is a chance for them to really play a lesser D-line and really, protect Vic. And Vic's going to get lots of time. Saints only have 11 sacks this season, so you know they're not going to be getting a lot of pressure on him. He's going to be able to pass the ball. But also, Saints seem to struggle against these mobile quarterbacks. They lost to the Redskins in RG3, and they lost to Carolina and Cam Newton. And their D-line just seems to not be able to contain these mobile quarterbacks. So although I don't think Philly is necessarily the better team, I think it's a better matchup for them. And even though Saints are at home, I got to go with Philly. And I know, I'm going to hear about it.
Yep.
But yeah, Philly over the Saints on Monday night.
See, I'm going to go with the Saints. I didn't go with them last week for the first time in a while. It did pay off for me, though, because Broncos laid it on them. But I think I'm going to go with the Saints for a reason that really makes no sense to a lot of people, but I just see New Orleans on Monday nights. They always have this good chemistry, this good vibe. Good things happen to them. I mean, the Superdome reopened on a Monday night. They had a big game against the Falcons. Drew Brees last year had a big game against your Giants on Monday night.
Thanks.
And I just see the same thing. Drew Brees on Monday Night Football is always clutch. And I can see that happening here. Eagles are more in disarray than I think the Saints are, as odd as that seems with the Saints having a worse record. But I'm going to go, and especially with the disaster that's going on with the Saints after Bountygate, but I'm going to go with the Saints in this one because, they're at home, and I think Drew Brees out there can really pick apart this defense as well and the chemistry. But we're getting down to the end of the show. We're going to get to our 2-minute drill here. Time for our favorite segment of the show, Quick Picks.
Quick Picks.
Did we get music for this week?
No, I don't have music for it.
Well, Step it up, production value guy. Quick picks. I mean, some interesting matchups here. So, quickly, the Detroit Lions and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Detroit.
Yeah, I like Detroit as well on the road. Broncos, Bengals.
Denver,
they've got a lot of momentum. The Seahawks at home against the Vikings.
Seattle.
I also like Seattle. Tampa Bay and Oakland, what I think could be a real good matchup.
Yeah, I agree it'll be close, but I gotta go with Tampa Bay.
I'm gonna go with the Raiders here. I think the Raiders at home have been playing really good football. May leave it close, but I think they get the job done. And lastly, your boys, the G-Man against the Steelers. Well, yeah, of course. What a stupid question on my behalf. I think the Giants as well. I think they're just too much for Pittsburgh right now. But that's gonna be it for this week's show. We'll be back to discuss all happenings in the NFL, especially if some big trades go down. So yeah, that's it for this week. For Matt, I'm out. Peace.